here for today is the January the 13th of 2021. Happy New Year to each and every one of you, you and yours. And we have on the commission here this morning, myself, John, Linda, and Norris, and hopefully Shauna will be jumping in. Linda is here as well as Terry Jo as well, who is holding it all together for us. So we thank you. On our agenda, the minutes of the previous meetings of December the 9th of 2020. Are there any edits, corrections, omissions, anything we need to address from the minutes?
Chair, I do have one thing.
Okay.
It's more for Terry Jo, housekeeping. For the staff present, you need to add Jerry Padula because he was on the meeting.
Yes, he has been added. If you check
Okay.
the most recent one, Jerry Paduda
Oh.
is there as a staff attorney. Yes.
Okay,
Jerry's there.
I must have printed the wrong one.
Yeah, I corrected it on the second time for the board.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for catching that, though. I appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. Good morning.
Good morning, Vicky.
Good morning.
Morning, Vicky.
Hearing no other comments, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I got a Linda. She beat you to the punch, Norris, but you'll be the second.
I'll
Okay.
second it. I'll second
All
it.
right. Ayes.
Aye.
Nays, abstentions. We have moved forward with that. Let's just jump right in here. The ASC. Anything that we must know about our friendly folks of the ASC?
No, I have nothing.
Okay. All right. And before I get into the new and the old business, is there anything, Vicky, on the legal side we should know about?
Not really. I will say that I spoke with Jerry Padula, our legislative person, yesterday, and he indicated that he would look to see the status as to where we are with the regulations. And looking on the website, what he had indicated to me is that there had not appeared to be any movement. He said we would get a notification when there is a public hearing, but at present it's either at the governor's office or at OPM. So we're just awaiting, notification as to what the status is.
Vicky, given
Hey,
your
Vicky,
experience with this, what type of timeline do you anticipate, forecast, or looking into your crystal ball?
Realistically, if it's at the governor's or OPM, I would say we would know something probably within the next 30 days.
Okay.
I think that's realistic.
Okay.
Yeah. And if not, I will at least ask him to just provide an update.
Hey,
Hey, Vicky, excuse me.
that's okay.
Hey, Vicky, quick question. Who's the legislative liaison? What is Leslie O'Brien? I get mixed up. Is Jerry the boss, or is Leslie doing all this?
Leslie O'Brien is designated as the legislative liaison.
Yes.
Jerry Padula is a staff attorney who does all of the uploading of the legislation. He used to be the
Okay.
liaison, and Leslie took his place. But what I should now add is that our legal director, Julianne Avalone, will be assisting Leslie with the legislative session because there is quite a few things on the agenda regarding medical, regarding the marijuana and sports betting. Those are, two big hot topics, if you will. So as a result, Julianne will be working exclusively on that, those areas. So we have an interim director, David Cousins, who will be assisting us with our other legal matters.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.
Jerry, I have a question. I sent out an email last week because I got some questions from appraisers about their concern about inspecting homes and how some lenders are doing a different format where they, the appraiser doesn't go in the house, the homeowner walks through and videotapes everything while the appraiser's on site. I don't see that on the agenda. I wondered if we could put that on there because they are getting a lot of concerns now. It's, and I wasn't even sure if like we should talk with the banking commission because some lenders are very accepting of that type of an inspection and others are just downright, no, you have to go in.
Why don't we put that toward the end, Linda, on comments and
Okay.
concerns, and we will make sure we cover it there.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Let's see here. Oh, Vicky, did I cut you short? We're all covered?
No, I'm all set. Thank you. Mhm. No,
Okay,
thank
good.
you. Mhm.
All right. That being said, we have new business. Joseph Rosengard, RCG applicant, log approval, and sample selection. Okay.
Yeah, you guys, the log was included in the package that Terry Jo sent you. It is a commercial appraiser looking to upgrade. So I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at it yet, but maybe Jerry, John, you can each pick like 3 samples and forwarded me the addresses.
John, I went through it. I think you and I talked real quick last week. I picked 4 out, one from 17, 18, 19, and 20. You can
Okay.
add whatever if you want, you know.
That's fine with me. Just pick those 4 and then we'll go.
Okay. I had picked Holly Pond in Stanford. The date on the log was 8/29/17. That was a medical office building. I
Okay,
picked the Tracy Lodge. That was May 15th of 18. It's a retail/restaurant in Westport. Since he has a number of apartments, I picked the apartment complex in Haverstraw, New York on September 20th of 19. And I also picked, hoping that there'd be a cost approach in there, the URBY apartments in Stanford, which is our new apartments, and that was September 14th of 20.
all right, and I will send these to him and I will let him know if there's not a cost approach, then to include an additional one with a cost approach.
Very good. John, was there any others you wanted to add? Feel free. I just happened to just go through.
I don't want to add. I just want to talk about the log real quick in general. I know Shauna and Linda have brought this up on the residential side when they're pretty much saying the same thing over and over and over and over, and we don't get to see. Isn't the purpose of the log for us to see a progression?
Growth, yes.
Growth.
There should, I mean, there normally should be, I'm just trying to see. He works for CBRE. Yeah, okay. I was looking to see if maybe he was residential and had upgraded, but he's not. He's going straight from provisional to certified general. So, I mean, if you need more info on the log or you need it changed, I mean, you can let me know what you want and I can have him correct it for the next meeting.
Well, I think in this case, we're going to be seeing some challenging properties that Jerry picked. So, I think when he comes in, we can really, ask him questions and see that progress. But I think, is there a way to kind of going forward when you receive the logs, if you see a repetitive thing, can you just make a comment that, hey, your log should be showing some progress here? Or is there a way to communicate that to people? Or is that just, or am I being ridiculous?
No, you're not being ridiculous. I mean, most people, when they first start out, you would think they do less, and obviously they have to grow to know how to do everything if they're starting as a total new person. I mean, I remember way back when I started, it was like, I didn't know anything. So, yeah, I mean, we can make, maybe we can come up with a statement to send to all the provisionals currently, and then going forward, I usually send the new ones an email. I can include something as to what we expect the log to look like and how it should progress.
All right, thank you. And I know my 2 provisionals are having trouble still finding that log. So we're just creating one.
Right. I sent you I think I sent you, or I sent one of them a sample from the AQB.
Yeah, okay.
And then you can just create it in an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, I didn't know if we had an actual format already on our,
No, we don't anymore.
okay.
It
Hey,
disappeared
Linda.
from the application for some reason, and I don't know where it went.
Follow up to John's thought here, and maybe I am overdoing this, but weren't the applicant also to sign the log? I know I see Mr. Mulvaney's signature as the sponsor on there. Isn't in this particular case, Mr. Rosengard supposed to be signing as well? Or am I overdoing it?
No, they both should be signed in each quarter.
Okay, did I miss that when, again, I don't,
I didn't look at it really well, so I can go back and look.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I
that's
saw
his.
was, yeah, that's
Oh.
Steve Mulvaney's. He's the sponsor.
Right. So I will go back and let him know he needs to sign it quarterly.
Very good. Okay,
So,
thank you.
so there's no motion really on the floor because we really haven't accepted his work.
Right.
That's correct. We can ask for the samples probably, John, to keep things moving along, but I think
Yeah.
before we review the samples or before we talk to him, and let me just say next month, we've got to approve the log because I think the log doesn't quite meet our minimum standards here without his signature on there.
Right. So I will ask him to re-sign it and resend it.
Okay.
Hey, could you ask
Linda
him since
or
he
Doris,
sits?
any thoughts?
No, I mean, we've had this problem with everything gets very repetitive with almost every log that's come in. So, I mean, and truthfully, if you're doing this for a couple of years, once you get to a certain point, it's going to be the same. But
Right.
the beginning part of the log should be very different, you know. And I was laughing when you talked about it because I had 3 days of training and then they sent me out on my own. And it's amazing that I'm still appraising. It's
You're
kinda
lucky you got 3 days.
it was Ralph Boley and he thought that was a long time. And
Oh,
then he
man,
sent
I
me to
had like
Danbury and I got lost and couldn't find my way home and cried for half an hour.
I had like
You know,
6
something
months of
else.
training.
Huh?
Mine was very strict and very rigorous, and yeah, it was like 6 months before I finally said to her, I'm ready to go out and do this by myself.
Right, no, 3 days and then you were out on your own.
Wow.
Then I think we're good to go with that one. Oh, Norris, I didn't want to cut you off. Anything you want to add?
I'm good.
Okay, very good. All right then, if there's nothing more with Mr. Rosengard, we've asked for those, and this is going to have to be put on under old business for the next meeting for his reviewing his log that it, meets the passes mustard, so to speak here. Okay, looking down on the agenda, old business, the Appraisal Foundation approval of PAREA. What do we got here?
Have any of you had a chance to take a look at that? It was sent a few months ago to you. This is one more change the AQB is making into how to become certified. Trying to help people get certified quicker.
I've been watching this for the past couple of years now because they started this a couple of years ago. And
Right.
what this is supposed to be a class. It's a video, but it's supposed to be a class that takes you to appraising properties you may not come in contact with in the normal of business. If you work in an area where it's all single family homes and there's not anything unique around it, this brings those into play, teaching you how to handle things that are not the norm. So I think it's a really good idea because I think a lot of times you get stuck with the same kind of property over and over again, especially on the residential side. And generally, you probably don't get stuck with anything over and over again, but on the residential side, there's a lot of capes, colonials, and ranches out there, and there's nothing, there's not too many geodesic domes or anything like that to come along and make you think a little differently. So I think this is good. I think it's a good idea for them to, and I'm assuming that they're going to make this a mandatory course.
Well, it's supposedly, and you'll get so many hours of credit towards your hours that you need to upgrade to certified. I mean, I don't think it can take the place 100%.
Oh, no, my understanding with this course is this is because you can't get all the options that you might have to face. So it's giving
Right, and
you,
people are having trouble with finding supervisors
right,
who do multiple things and things like that.
so it's giving you, you know, a little bit broader outlook on what is out there and what you may have to appraise at some point in time.
Right,
So I'm reading this, it's really just one page is all I got from you.
Right.
On this.
right, that's all we got.
All right, and all it's really saying is, so what Linda's saying is, from the technology, this is a way to get a supervisor who's basically not in your own office, but maybe even across the country to help you. That's, everything else stays the same, right?
Oh, I didn't realize that they were doing that as supervisor from across the.
Well,
How
it
would
says
you
there.
do that? Because our laws are not the same in every single state.
Well, it says technology is opening new doors in the appraisal profession. Said the current trainee supervisor model can sometimes be a barrier to entry for aspiring appraisee. PAIR is not a replacement for this existing model, but it is an alternative pathway for those hoping to become appraisers to gain required experience. It doesn't say anything about a course. We hope that state agencies will take advantage of this new minimum criteria to establish. It doesn't say it's a course. It sounds like it's technology replacing, and I can't see how technology, other than you're telling me it's a course instead of a supervisor. I have a problem with that. I think you need someone to tell you yes and no, unless the course actually has somebody overseeing it. I mean, we have enough problems right now with supervisors not training these guys.
Right.
Exactly,
How is a
so
course
to have,
training these guys? They're taking all the classes and they're not getting it.
Well, part of that could be because of who their supervisors are.
Yeah, I just think we should see more of what this thing actually is before we make any kind of vote. I mean, I don't have a problem with voting to say we'll definitely consider it, but I just don't know what it is we're voting on.
Maybe we don't vote until we get it more fleshed
all right,
out.
I'll see if I can get some more information from the HUB on it.
Okay, I think that's
Because what I
fair.
sent you is what I had.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, okay. But they're very good points, you know, and
Thank you.
it's okay to ask those questions. That's what we're here for. So let's make sure that we're not rubber stamping anything. There's two positions have just put on the floor, very valid. And let's find out a little more.
John, you're right. I just Googled it, and the very first statement that came up said, the Appraiser Qualifications Board created the program as an alternative to the traditional supervisor trainee model for gaining appraisal experience. I thought the first time this was presented, I was in one of the education classrooms for instructors, and they presented this as you can't experience everything that might come across your table when you're appraising, and that this was to help you understand how, you know, different and unique properties would get appraised. It was not presented as an alternative to having a supervisor. And granted, I mean, not all our supervisors are great, but I think you need somebody, even if it's only for 3 days, to get you through what you're doing.
All right, so let's just research it some more, as Jerry said,
Okay.
because the reality is it may not be applicable in our state.
Right.
I mean,
Right, we don't have to accept it, so.
I will tell you though, I've got an appraiser, a wannabe appraiser, let's say, and she's taken all the courses that are required and continuing to take the rest of them and cannot find a supervisor for anything. And I'm really a little too old to be doing supervisory stuff, I think.
Yeah, it is very difficult, especially residential, it seems, to find a supervisor.
Right. And I mean, it's like, I mean, we do almost everything we do is an exterior because the 90% of our work is foreclosure work. So they don't inspect homes or anything, you know, and I mean, we do some other stuff, but there's a lot of lenders who will not let a supervisor, provisional appraisers sign the report.
Right, so you have to go with them for everything. So,
Right.
And with the reduced fees, it's not feasible for them.
Right. So I don't know.
All right, then we'll find out, Linda, when you find a little more here and we can flush it out, discuss it.
Okay.
And all good. It's all good. Okay, next on here is Timothy Hagan, RCG applicant, seeking approval and sample selection. Okay. Now, I'll say this up front. I've gone through everything early this morning, and I am sure, Terry Jo, you sent it to me. I'll be dang if I can find it. Okay, so maybe, John, did you see it?
I saw his.
I think I sent it to Linda and Sean. I think I forgot to send it to you guys because it was
Because it's all
residential.
residential.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
I'm sorry.
John, what a smile.
okay.
So yeah, that's on me.
No
It's fine.
problem.
I went through them. This is the second time, maybe third time.
Third time, right?
Third
Tim,
time.
it's the third time you're
Third
here?
Yeah, that's right.
Hi,
Okay.
Tim.
So-
Good morning, Mr. Hagan.
There-
Happy New
All right.
Year.
It's good to see
There's
you.
definitely an improvement on his reports. I think I sent you an email, Linda, didn't I?
You did, and Tim, did you get that I had forwarded with
No.
her comments?
No.
No.
Okay, she sent it, yeah, she sent it last week. I had asked her, I know you were looking for it.
The reports.
If I may interrupt, before anybody really starts to establish the record, if you will, could you just put his name, spelling, business address, so we have a frame of reference, if you will?
Yes, Mr. Hagan, can you give your name and a business address, please, and the spelling of your last name? And thank you, Vicky.
It's Tim Hagan, last name spelled Haggan, and business address is 51 White Plains Road, Norwich.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So I did look at the reports, and there's a definite, very definite improvement in the reports. The only thing I found, I'm actually looking for that email right now, but the only thing I found that was of some concern, but it's typical, even though this has been out there a couple of years, a lot of appraisers have not caught up with it yet. You know how the highest and best use just states the 4 principles in a comment? The new ruling since at least 2 years ago has been that you have to describe how your property meets the 4 steps, not just put in the definition of highest and best use. So that was the only thing I actually found on here that I would say that's still an issue. But if you check on how to do that, I don't have any problem with your reports anymore. You know, that's something that I think people just, it's probably on your template as a standard comment, and nobody bothers to change it till they come up here and I holler at them. So, you know, but I think
You're right, because anything I see coming in doesn't, even new existing appraisers, when someone
they
has a
still haven't
question on an appraisal,
the
does
new-
not have that.
the ruling has been that you have to explain how that property meets highest and best, not just that it's, you know, maximally productive and financially feasible and all that kind of stuff, or profitable, whatever it is. It's early.
Hagan, does that make sense to you? Do you understand what Commissioner Sepso is discussing?
Yeah, should I like expand it to the point of like explain what is legally permissible and why the single family residential is that's current?
Right, it would be something like meets the guidelines of legally permissible because it is approved by zoning, what, you know, those kind of comments.
Because, yeah.
Right, you know, and it's financially feasible because homes in the area are readily available for sale and seem to be increasing in those kind of comments that make you understand this is a good neighborhood, or it's not a great neighborhood and they're struggling to sell things. So it's that kind of thing that explains how highest and best use fits with that property.
Okay.
Just that, it's just kind of expanding that little clip that we've been putting in there for 100 years, exactly the same. It was in everyone's report, exactly the same. Yeah. And now they've asked us to explain what we're talking about.
I just want to caution you
and
not to use-
speaking of explanations, I do see someone standing in the background. If that's your sponsor, could we just put his name on the record?
Could you put your name for the record, please?
Dan Redner.
And spell your last name if you'd be so kind.
Redner.
Okay, thank you. And I think we have the business address as the same.
Same address, yes.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. Linda, are you in a position to make a motion for acceptance of Mr.?
Oh, yeah, me?
Yeah.
I always have to check and see which Linda you're talking about.
No, I'm sorry.
We got to change our names.
Are you okay
Anyway.
to make a motion?
Yeah, I am. I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Hagan's reports
Okay.
and move him on to certification.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Galvin, Commissioner Galvin has seconded the motion. Open for discussion.
I
Norris,
just wanna
any
say- Can I
comments?
say one thing real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
I know Linda made the comment about good neighborhood, bad neighborhood, that kind of thing. I'm just don't want that to slip out. Those are kind of things we don't really say in our.
We don't really say them, you're right.
Right, so just stick to when the highest and best use, just, highest and best use is something that will evolve over time if you keep thinking about it on every single property that you're looking at, even though your properties may be the same, because as you go into them, it'll start evolving in your head. So if you just keep it in your head on a regular basis, it's something that'll just come, and before you know it, you'll understand it and you'll be talking to somebody and realize they don't, you do, and it's second nature to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? Norris, do you have anything?
I'm good.
Okay. Anyone else on the commission? Hearing none, we'll call for the roll call for the vote. Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays, abstentions. Mr. Hagan, you were wondering if this day would ever come.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. We wish you nothing but a solid career. Remember, this is only the first step in the learning cycle that we go through, and keep up on your CE and all those things, and always try to keep learning. And congratulations and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Tim, if you would, just send me a couple of samples of what you would write up for highest and best, so we make sure that you're getting it the way that we expect it to be.
Sure.
Okay,
Very good.
thanks.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day. You're more than welcome to stay on, or you can go out and have an adult beverage, whatever you want. It's your call, okay?
Coffee, he means coffee.
There you
Right.
go.
But
Take
Tim,
care.
before you leave, because I don't have the file in front of me, you sent me your college transcript, right?
Yep.
Okay, I thought I saw it. All right, so I will notify PSI that you are approved to sit for the exam. Please note, PSI has limited hours. They're very slow in getting back. If you don't hear from them, I would say by the middle of next week, give them a call. I think they only have their West Hartford office open for appraisal exams. So, just so you know, it may be, whenever you're ready to take it. You don't have to, call and take it tomorrow, but whenever you're ready, just know right now they're running a little slow.
Okay. So, and if I don't hear from them, I can contact them.
Yeah,
Please,
definitely. If you don't hear
please.
from them by middle of next week, I would call them.
And another word of caution, I've been working with a couple of appraisers who are at this stage of taking the exam. Don't expect to pass it the first time.
I expect you to. I expect you to, okay?
I mean, I think what happens is the last couple of ones, 2 of them did not pass the first time, and they were so upset. They thought they were total failures. No, it's a tough exam. So
Yeah, it's gotten much harder than when we took it.
At Peoples, when I had to get all the appraisers they're licensed because it was pre-licensing when I started training the people there, and it was really hard. I had appraisers who knew what they were doing really well, and they take the test like 3 times before they pass it, because it's just a tough test. So study a lot. I know I think McKissick or somebody has a like a test study kind of thing specific to the test. So you might want to look at that.
Yeah.
And if you pass it the first time, let me know.
I did a thing. I ordered a CompuCram. It's
yeah. Okay. I think that's the one that's out there. Yeah, good.
Linda, he was gonna go out and have a cup of coffee in celebration. Now you're
Now he
gonna
does need a drink.
He's stressed him
drain
out.
his sorrows, you know? So hang in there, you can do
I
it.
just don't
okay?
want them,
Good
because
luck, Tim.
Yeah.
I just don't want you to feel bad if you don't pass it the first time. Most people don't. It's kind of
Right.
different and it's a long test. So take
Yeah,
care.
it's all day.
Very
hard.
good.
Do you find out right away after you finish the test if you passed or not?
Yeah, I
You're
think as
supposed to. They're supposed to give you the results right away. There's been a couple of glitches with PSI and they haven't gotten the results during this COVID crisis right away. You may have to wait till the next day, but if you don't get them when you leave, let me know.
Okay.
All right, good.
Nothing
Thank
but the
you all.
best.
Good
All right,
luck.
be
You'll do
well.
fine.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, I'm seeing here comments or concerns, and Linda, this goes to your point, and I'd like to just jump in. I will tell you what we are doing, because we, on the inspection side, you're mentioning about banks and so forth, and I deal with this every single day. And we also have the overlay of the CDC disease control in the world I live in. And and it has been acceptable until yesterday, a matter of fact, but it was a very unique case that the options have been given. We will look at the outside of the building, like you were saying here. But on the inside, because if you're in a nursing home, a hospital, assisted living, independent living, cancer center, and so forth, no, it's I call them the bubbles. No one wants to penetrate the bubble and so forth. You are under our direction, meaning the appraiser. The staff will go in there and take pictures. I need a picture of, semi-private room, the kitchen, the common area, whatever it is. And the other option then is that they will take an iPad, and therefore they will be videoing it, and they, are listening to you, and they're walking through, and you are directing them what you want to see and so forth. You have a copy of it, so therefore you can take individual snapshots and put those from the video in your report. That is the exception on our side of the fence. For the most part, and vast majority, is they are providing interior pictures. We put in the report that interior pictures were provided by management of the facility and so forth. We have a situation in Arkansas where I have to go back now to Arkansas because being from the outside and what pictures they provided from the inside, I can't, quite frankly said, I don't think it matches up. Okay, something isn't right here. So now there has been a court order for that. I'll have to, go inside, what have you. CDC has given their blessing and so forth on that. It's a conundrum that our poor appraisers are up against. I know that when Terry and I were having refinancing of our of a home here, the Bank of America made the appraiser in the middle of this COVID, and the only thing had to do an interior inspection. We left all the doors open. We went out into the garage because it was raining, go do what you got to do, and left. They said, can you leave cabinets open? Can you do this? So they didn't have to touch anything. And that is the unfortunate world we're in. I do believe that I'm on these weekly calls from different healthcare providers. We're 4 to 6 months out of this will become a non-issue because enough of us will be inoculated and hopefully we're through this. But your point is very well taken. And I think at the end of the day, if we, we just kind of guide with common sense. And I've had some spirited conversations with clients, and they usually the bigger banks, believe it or not. And they said, well, this is the regulation. I got to check the box. I said, well, then does your regulation supersede the CDC, Center of Disease Control? It's usually met with silence, okay? And it's a tough doggone thing. So I don't know John or Linda or, Norris or anyone other thoughts, but I just want to put that, you bring a very valid question. Every single appraiser, I don't care if you're a resi or a generalist, I don't care if you're a specialist or industrial, we're all dealing with this. And that's my position on it here.
Jerry, a question, Jerry. I'm sorry, John, you go.
No, you go ahead first, Norris.
Hey, Jerry, I just figured if you walked into a hospital or anything like that, they would just give you a hazmat
I do
suit.
wear that. I do get that, Norris. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. The ventilators, the whole pack,
I know because I had my uncle who passed away a couple months ago, and when I was speaking to my aunt about it, when I said, did you go and see him? He was at a nursing home. He was mentally challenged in Georgia. And they said they gave him the whole suit. So I was just figuring that when you were doing this, you were just going in everything from head to toe.
Not residential appraisers.
Yeah, no, but it's different by state. Let me be, we are up in the Northeast, New England, Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York. We're without question the more restrictive areas of the country, from my experience. I was in Arkansas last week. I saw one other person wearing a mask. One.
Wow.
Just to give you.
Because they don't want to do it in the South. They don't want to wear them.
Right.
They don't want to wear them at all. And, it's interesting, but I would think that with a regular, and if you're doing a home, you'd at least want to go in with a mask and gloves, right?
Oh yeah.
If you're going to walk into a regular home, am I correct, or anything? At least mask and gloves, right, to protect yourself, right?
Well, one of the options that some of the banks have agreed to do is the appraiser does not enter the home. The homeowner walks through making a videotape of every room, floor, ceiling, everything, opening closet doors. And the appraiser watches the whole thing on his cell phone. And then the homeowner can send that video to the appraiser so they have it in their work file. But they don't actually enter the home because of the fact that, it's a two-way street with residential properties. They know that you've been in a whole bunch of places. They don't want you in their home any more than you want to go in.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but it's not all lenders will let them do that.
Yeah.
Right. I know FHA has guidelines about that, and Fannie Mae has guidelines about allowing it. And a lot of it is loan to value ratio. And, if it's a 50% loan, they're doing a drive-by. If it's a 90% loan,
it's a different
depending on other underwriting criteria, the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA, what they're allowing. But, again, it's up to a lender too.
Right. And a lot of them are saying no. So I was wondering, should this be something that we discuss with the banking commission and say, maybe encourage them to allow this alternative setup? Like our a la mode software has a software developed that we can use to get everything.
So can I throw a comment in here?
Yeah.
It's been my experience that, as Jerry indicated, we're probably going to be coming out of this within the next couple of quarters. So we're more than halfway. So I think a lot of people have adapted and figured it out. And I just want to throw what Jerry just said too, is we have this thing in our reports. We've been very cautious, reluctant to go into. I've asked people to take photographs and provide. I know residential, but I had to do a couple of large estates, things like that. And on the industrial side and commercial side, we've made arrangements where we go into a property on a weekend when no one's there, or we just been, and it's a pain, but we're just accommodating to protect everybody. But I also want to point out that we have this, if you read the jurisdictional exception, which I know, Linda, you know by heart, but the last line, and says it's basically here to provide savings and servability clause intended to preserve the balance of USPAP if compliance with one or more of its parts is precluded by law or regulation of a jurisdiction. And it goes down to say, law includes constitution, legislative and court-made law and administrative rule and ordinances. So it's administrative rules too. So, so I think regulation includes rules and orders having legal force issued by an administrative agency. Instructions from a client or attorney do not establish a jurisdictional exception. So if the client is giving you something, then that's part of the scope of work. But if the client is giving you something that is contrary to, you know, we've been down this path several times with different other organizations, that if the client's asking you to do something which is against law or ordinance, well, then you got to stop there. That's a different issue. So I don't see any problem with the appraiser taking on, you know, photos and stuff like that, as long as they feel comfortable with it. I think they should be putting in an extraordinary assumption in their report, saying it's an extraordinary, something to the effect, it's an extraordinary assumption that the interior is as described in the appraisal, this appraisal based, which is based on photos taken by the, you know, the property owner or whoever provided those photos or video or whatever it is. And I think they're fine, because, you know, if something comes up after the fact that they found out that there's, you know, the photo they took of the finished basement was from the neighbor's house, well, that's fraudulent on the person who took the photo, not on the appraiser. So I think we have something in USPAP already to cover us on this. And the other thing is, I don't know what they're doing on the residential side, but on the commercial side, I don't know if you're doing it, but our E&O insurance is requiring us to have a couple of sentences in our report explaining that, you know, with the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, its value is as a base of time, you know, blah, 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 and a few other things that they require us to have in all our reports. And then I usually add a few sentences explaining, it's actually been beneficial because I've added a few sentences in there which saying, you know, like, and I've changed these sentences, you know, weekly at times throughout COVID. And right now I'm basically saying, you know, there's a vaccine, you know, as we all know, there's a vaccine on the market coming out now, which the COVID pandemic is expected to stabilize out within a couple of quarters. And then I go in and say, therefore, I'm projecting an exposure period of 12 months. You know, it kind of covers me why I'm doing this, because that gets me out of the, you guys aren't having on the residential side, but on the commercial side, we're having a problem with, you know, everybody's screaming about value being impacted by COVID-19. And the question then is, oh yeah, if you have to sell your property today, then there's maybe an impact because of COVID, because, you know, you maybe have higher vacancy or something like that. But most prudent investors are not going to be selling their property under this duress situation if they don't have to. They're going to hold on to it. So, you know, that's contradictory to the definition of market value. And I have heard, Jerry, maybe you can throw in this. Yesterday, I was on the phone with somebody, not going to mention his name, but he's a good appraiser, and you guys are all familiar with him, who was saying that he's been hearing that CBRE and some of the larger firms are now offering they're calling it a COVID, I'm not sure if I got this term right, COVID-19 value, and then a market value on certain properties, which is essentially saying a liquidation value and a regular market value. So I think we have a lot of flexibility as appraisers, and I think if an appraiser's panicking, I think they're just not experienced enough, and they just need to, you know, be talked through it. That's all. I don't think we need to, as a commission, I don't think we have to establish anything, say anything, or comment.
Oh, I disagree on that, though. I think we have to have something that says, like, this is already acceptable in what you just read, you know, in USPAP. So I think we need to remind maybe the banking commission and any other lenders, because they're the ones who are saying no to the appraisers. And where residential was crazy busy from March on and values skyrocketed, they're a little more stable now. You know, everybody who needed to move out of Manhattan has already moved. So, you know, I think it's just that the homeowners are frightened of having somebody, but they need to refinance for some reason, whatever it is. So they're concerned about it. And we have offerings of software and stuff that will allow the homeowner to do the video that's required and give it to the appraiser. But there's lenders who say, no, I won't accept that. So we need to get them to understand that they do have the option to accept that.
Well, I kind of disagree with you there, Linda, because I don't think it's our responsibility as a commission, because there's really no violation here. There's nothing, there's not, is there a violation of a law? There's no violation of a law. And as a commission, you know, we want to see it and help our peers out. That I understand. But you know, unless somebody comes to us and asks us, I don't think, I think it, you know, you know, residential is very, you know, I don't want to, you know, it's a lot of it's the same process, but commercial, because each property is so different, it's not the same process. And so a lot of my work, several hours a week, goes into educating my client on value, on the process, on what's taking place in the market, what's going on, what's acceptable practices, that kind of stuff. I mean, we just personally just worked with a lender who's having a problem with, doesn't want to order these evaluations on a lot of their properties. Some of them, if they're low in the value, they are with, you know, with the de minimis level. So we worked with them to come up with a product that works for them, that's an appraisal that they can order. And a lot of that evolved because they didn't know, they were panicking, but it required me educating them of what's going on.
Right.
So as
Well,
appraisers, so individually, I would go back to these different appraisers and say, look, you know, educate your client. Unfortunately, if they're their largest client, it puts them in an awkward position. And if everybody else is doing it, well, then that becomes the norm. One of the things about USPAP is what's normal practice within your market area. You know, so if normal practice within your market area is now accepting the fact that homeowners are taking photos, and you know, Bank of America, I'm just going to pick them an example, can come down and say, look, I have 10 other appraisals to do this. If you don't want to do it, well, you've just set, they just set a precedent that what's going on in that market, that's acceptable behavior within the market. So now it's up to that individual appraiser. And of course, the line of integrity is different for each one of us, as we have seen, you know, over the years, just I've been here, people submitting work. So I think it's, I don't think it's our responsibility to go out and you know, and my reasoning for this comes from a couple of the things that I've dealt with, you know, with the AMC legislature and recently with, you know, this regulation that this regulation change that we're trying to submit. You know, I actually tried to contact the Banking Commission to discuss this, and they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear it because no one was complaining to them about it. You know, and when they say complaint, they're talking about breaking a law, not just people whining or moaning or groaning, that kind of thing. So that's why I think as a commission, you know, we can put on the record that we, in our minutes, that we discussed this. We could put on our minutes that we talk, this is just my suggestion, the group would have to decide this, that, you know, we discussed that it's a jurisdictional exception is there, and now that becomes public information, so that if anybody asks, you can, you know, point to the minutes. I think that might be a more simpler.
I really don't think that's sufficient. I think something has to go out explaining to who, maybe it's not the Banking Commission, if they don't want to open their ears and hear anything. I don't think we're asking a lot. We're just letting them know. First of all, you're talking about going into office buildings. We're going into people's homes. We're walking in their bathrooms. We're walking in their bedrooms.
We are too. We're going into apartment.
You're not walking into bedrooms. You're not walking into kitchens.
Yes, I am. Yes, Linda, yes, I am. Because I'm doing a lot of apartments. We do a lot of multifamily, and a lot of the small multifamilies we're going into have elderly in them, etc. Right. So yes, we are, okay, and we've been very conscientious of that. So no, it's impacting all of us.
But I just think that there needs to be an understanding, because where you're dealing with a client who's used to this kind of stuff, we're dealing with AMCs who have 20 different banks and they don't care what the regulations are. So, I mean, you know, you have to end up doing something that lets the general public understand what's happening and why the appraiser wants to go in there with, maybe they have to wear some kind of I mean, I'll go tell them all to go buy hazmat suits. I don't care, but I want them to be protected in the same way that Jerry is able to be protected. And I'm afraid that unless we explain something to, well, I'm assuming it was the Banking Commission, but evidently they don't have, you know, they don't really care. They might not necessarily understand the risk that appraiser is taking walking into somebody's home, but they really want to get that property appraised. And I haven't, I mean, we do some lending work, but I have not seen any huge reaction to them being just done as drive-bys. I'm still seeing it like more than 90% of any orders we get for full appraisals are done as interior inspections. So, I mean, but fortunately, the lender that we get those from is willing to work with the, the video from the homeowners, which gives them plenty of information. They're being guided by the appraiser as they're doing the video. They're saying, okay, show me this. So, if they see something that they think it might be an issue, show me this. Turn the faucets on, let me know that the water's working, that kind of thing. So, and they're doing all of that. And it gives them plenty of information. They can make all kinds of disclaimers in there because they weren't officially in there, but it's happening real time. The homeowner is going through the house, inspecting the property and videotaping it while the appraiser is standing outside on the lawn, watching everything unfold. So I mean, I don't think we can just say, well, nobody's going to listen, so we shouldn't say anything. I think that's
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the market is if you want to say something, I mean, then you got to figure out how you're going to say it, and then we have to discuss that and vote on that. That's fine if you want to come up with a way to do that, a format to do that. But I'm just start taking it from the first stage, saying that I don't think it's necessary.
Well, the appraisers I've talked to think differently, so.
Well, we are here to uphold the laws and regulations that we have put forth here. And we have to be cautious at times that we don't cross the line of a business decision. And I'll be very candid. I haven't gone and looked at certain properties in certain states, business decisions. Competitors have gone and looked at them because I just simply thought the COVID rate was too out of control. Okay, let me be very candid about it here. That was a business decision on my part, and for our group. So it's a fine line here, but my thing is, so who do we send it to? Say that we do, that for guidance, who do we send it to? And that's where a question I come up with. I don't know who we send it to. If we had the PR component and used to put it into the, and this is going back many years ago, into the New England Real Estate Journal, or, the Commercial Record, an article, that was an avenue to get it out there. But we really don't have that, or we haven't had it for years here. So, again, I think it's more of a business decision for each individual one. Yeah, sometimes we've walked away from assignments, okay, where we're at here. But for what we're all going forward, okay, say we put a guidance, I put that in air quotes, guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Who do we send it to? Where does it go to? And John is right here with the banking commission. Unless there's a complaint made, they don't, it's just been my experience, they don't want to hear us. So does anyone have another idea? I hear where you're coming from, because we're all
I think
dealing
part of our
with
responsibility is to make sure that we have methods of being able to protect the appraisers. And not everybody works for a company. There's so many appraisers out there who are sole proprietors. They decide that that's too risky. They're out of work.
But that's their choice.
Not
That's their
necessarily.
choice. That's no. That's their choice. That's their choice. They can take the work or not take the work.
Yeah, and Linda, I have not taken on certain assignments, as Jerry said, because of that. And has that hurt me? Yeah, my revenue's way down. But but that was my choice. I could have taken those assignments. I could have bid aggressively on those assignments and gotten them, but I made a conscious choice. So I think by the time we ended up, just to throw this on the table, and like what Jerry just said and what Linda said, if we actually start and write something, we definitely have to include Sean in it, and it would probably take another probably 2 months to get maybe a month to get this done. So now we're up to February, and by the time it really head out and circulate out, it'd be almost March. And by March, I think things are going to start getting mitigated around the country with the virus. Because if you look at California and places like that, they're coming out with the vaccine like crazy. We're not yet, you know, so some states have it, some states don't. And I think one of the concerns is, I think if we do something now and we put it in our minutes and then we discuss it again next month, so it's in our minutes, we have something to point to if anybody asks us. And that way those clients, those people you're dealing with can say, hey, the commission talked about it. Here it is. It's a juris to second. It's in there, and they can discuss it with their client then. The reality is there's nothing we can do about clients out there who want to, you know, go against the grain. I mean, we've had for years, we had the broker's price opinion. We had the brokers running around doing these appraisals, but we couldn't do anything about it because no one was turning them in. We had no control over it, none. The banking commission had no control over it. No one had any control over it, all right? Until someone actually steps forward and said, hey, somebody's breaking the law here. I want to turn them in. I mean, and no one wanted to turn anybody in. So unless somebody actually steps up, you know, we really don't have much control. I totally empathize with you, Linda. I totally.
I'm not understanding your thing about until somebody fesses up. All these appraisers are asking for is someone to help them get their clients to understand that maybe they need some alternatives to be able to use as an option for them, as opposed to having the lender decide what's best for the appraiser. So I'm not, you know, you can put it in the minutes or whatever, but unless we're willing to say this can be a problem and it's, you know, offer them a couple of, maybe they should all go buy hazmat suits. I don't know. But I don't think we should say, well, we're going to put it in the minutes, so it'll be there. So
the issue is we
Let-
cannot tell, you know, we can't tell a lender
right.
as an appraisal commission what their requirements for an appraisal are. It's up to the appraiser to either accept the assignment or not, because, and you have to remember the banking commission
but
handles certain things that
what
they
I'm
don't
saying is
handle.
this.
Go ahead.
Oh,
You have to remember the banking commission doesn't handle all banks. You know, national
Right.
banks
Oh, I
are
understand
not under state regulation.
right. And probably 50% of the appraisers are working for AMCs anyway, or maybe even more. I don't really know. But what I'm saying is that maybe our responsibility is to make homeowners and clients of the appraisers aware that there is a risk for them going into a home for both the homeowner and the appraiser. And maybe they should both be given an option for something different.
We
Well,
have
wait,
one
wait a
other
minute,
thing
wait
we
a minute. Now,
have
the
to-
brokers.
Yeah, but wait a second. That sounds like a PR thing.
Yeah, and
That sounds like a business thing. I mean, how are we going to do something? What you're saying is you want the state to do like a commercial saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that? Linda, do you want the state to do a commercial?
No,
You're
and
asking-
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that this is a problem that the appraisers are saying exists and could very well impact their health.
so
And
if,
so maybe a broader spectrum of something somehow. I don't want it to be an advertisement, but
Because you're not going to go into the banking department, which it is the banking department. They're regulators. They're not going to want to hear this. This is more of like you're saying to me. You want to make a public announcement. If you want, we can get the governor to do a public announcement to say, hey, this, and this. You know what I mean? But the banking department isn't going to do anything. I'm just being blunt with you. I know how those guys operate. They're not going to do anything on this.
and the other thing that you have to remember is the different organizations that are out there, the Appraisal Institute, the Society for Real Estate Appraisers, and the brokers, particularly the National Association of Realtors. And early on in COVID, they were actually posting videos daily. We were getting information on teaching us how to go in and look at a property. They were teaching the brokers on how to go in. They came up with guidelines themselves. So these professional organizations have addressed this. Now, if there's still somebody insisting, they might have a reason. There might be a credit reason or something like that. Like Linda mentioned, that they have to, want somebody to go in. And as Jerry said, it's a business decision. If you don't want to go in, it's a business decision. If you're going to lose value from that client, profits from that client, then you have to make a business decision on how to handle it. I have not been contacting the banks, and I've been very quiet because I don't want to go into a lot of these properties. A lot of the work that I'm doing is work for municipalities and land that I don't have to deal with the COVID, and I'm hoping I can keep going that way for a couple more months. But
Let me jump in. If we put something together, would the DCP allow us to have it published? I have to ask that, Vicky. Where's the legal side? Vicky, are you there?
Vicky, you're muted.
Am I unmuted now?
We can hear you now.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. My thought is, and I was listening very carefully, I think you're treading in an area that is not necessarily under your purview or jurisdiction, if you will. To answer your question, if you put something out, the department, you are in your own entity. The department is not going to say yes or no. The department does not approve or disapprove of your messages. But I think if you did want to put something out, I think as counsel to you, you would have to pass it through Alan. But I can tell you, just based on the conversation that's being had, first of all, I don't know that there has been requests for guidance from you. So why are you giving guidance on questions that you weren't asked, and what is the purpose of it? And because there's so many different, I'll just say, entities and standards, you're really opening up a can of worms that I think you're just going down a path that you don't necessarily need to take. Because what I was going to say, because there's so many different standards, how are you going to reconcile all of that to to give guidance as to what it is? Nobody asked you. Nobody said, hi, should I not do this or should I do that, or what is the standard?
That's not true. That's how I found out that they were having a problem.
I'm saying, well, I'm sorry. Let me be clear.
Okay.
It wasn't presented to the commission in a way that required an answer. Somebody may ask you, Linda, because you have expertise, and that could just be your opinion as a person who has expertise in the field. But in terms of somebody saying, can you present this to the commission? Nobody asked that. Somebody said, Linda, what do you think? And you said, well, I think you should do this, or I think you should do that, unless I'm misunderstanding. If you're saying that they said, please present this to the commission because this is an issue, I don't know that anybody else has also indicated that they have had these questions come, from people in, out there and looking for commission guidance.
Well, they may not make it a formal, request, but I'm getting the phone calls from the appraisers who are saying, how do I do this? How can I possibly keep going forward and doing this while I'm walking into these homes? And I mean, there's other methods that they can use, but they're not. Most of the time with appraisers, we're going to take whatever the bank says they have to do. You got to do an interior inspection or whatever. But it doesn't work the other way, especially because there's AMCs where you can go back to an AMC and say, hey, listen, ask that bank if I can just have them take a video, because I don't want to go in the house. That doesn't work that way. It's not I don't think any of you guys have worked for AMCs. They're a nightmare.
Okay, but the thing of it is this: if the bank is asking you to do something, wouldn't you go to the bank to ask them how it should be done?
No, because the bank that's getting the mortgage might be in Nebraska someplace. It's not something that you can call up and talk to a person. There's no direct client contact. They're coming through from an AMC. It's just a totally different ballgame. It's not like it used to be before, where you could go to the bank, or you could call whoever was in charge of the loans at the bank and talk to somebody there about, is this sufficient if I do it this way? So it's a totally different world with the damn AMCs out there, because there's no connection to the actual client you're doing the work for.
Linda, it may be different from the commercial side and resi side, and I've always said, you know that.
Yeah.
We do with AMCs as well. And
Oh, you
Can you
do?
speak up,
Okay.
Jerry? Can you speak
yes,
up, Jerry?
yes, we do a fair amount with the AMCs as well.
Okay.
And I do that exactly. I call right back and said, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan of attack.
Okay.
It isn't, and I have walked away from assignments. I just didn't want to be in Tennessee. Nothing wrong with Tennessee, but I'm being candid with it. And that was a decision. I was fortunate enough to have an employer to understand, you're letting X amount of dollars out the door, not doing it. Well, I'm not putting my team in harm's
Right.
way.
Right.
Decision was made. But I hear it. Now the residential side with the AMC, you may have a different and probably do a little different process, but we do, I've been dealing with the AMCs as well, and I concur with you. It's a pain in the big toe. It's another leg, but I'm just always proactive. This is what I propose to do. Is it acceptable? With your client check. If they say no, I said, thank you. We'll work with you down the road. And I'm not going in that thing.
Right.
Right, wrong, or different. That's the tack that I have taken. And it's, as I said before, a business decision. So.
And again, I understand that. I can make those same kind of decisions, but a solo appraiser who's working for himself is deciding whether he's going to be able to pay his mortgage this month. I mean, it's not exactly the same. They don't have the same options that we do when you have a much larger business. So I mean, I don't know. I'll just suggest they all get hazmat suits next time I get a phone call.
They have to educate, give them, the different options. That's what I've been doing. My teams have been doing. My company, has done, that as well, to different degrees, but I've been given a more autonomy because of the arena we work in,
Right.
dealing with the elderly, the sick,
Right.
and so forth. I've been, your decision, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, there's been time. Enough said. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but is there anything else to be brought up here? That would be my suggestion, what we can do. Because
I got one other thing to bring up.
Go ahead, John.
As Vicky said, I got one of those calls asking me for my expertise, which I had none. And Linda and I had been talking, but I just want to talk about it now to get it out, Linda, to find out what's going on. And that's with my
I was going to bring it up.
my future fellow Navy veteran friend, Mr. Fay. So Frey. The Freys have a son who was certified, was a provisional, went off in the Navy for 4 years, is getting out, and is trying to figure out if he can come back in and start back up where he was or what. And Linda was going to research and find out what the options were.
Okay, so this is the situation. He left, his provisional license lapsed in 2017. So it's been more than 2 years. Our statute says 2 years, and if you're a veteran, you don't have to pay back fees. 2 years to reinstate a license. However, it also says you're entitled to a hearing if you do not get it. So we could have a hearing. We could make an exception because he was a veteran and unable to continue to allow him back. I talked to the ASC. I talked to Jenny. She would not have a problem if you did that. Based on what our statute said, she would be fine with allowing him to come back and start. He would have to, you could waive the back fees because he was a veteran for the 4 years, but he would have to do all the CE that was due between then and now. The other alternative is he starts from scratch. And that issue is his pre-licensing courses, the basic appraisal principles, etc., are more than 5 years old, which the AQB says they have to be within 5 years to be acceptable. So, and he's trying not to have to retake all of those. And Jenny was going to research to see if the AQB had a exemption for veterans. She hasn't gotten an answer back from them yet, so that's where we are.
Is that Jenny Tidwell?
Yes,
Okay.
Could you say his full name? Because I don't think we mentioned his full name. What's his full name?
it's Stephen Frey.
Steve Frey. Stephen Frey's the father. Is the son Stephen Frey too?
Yeah,
Okay. So I was just curious, this is why I emailed Vicky and you, is it just seems to me that there must be, this is just far-fetched just to try to it's research an avenue to help this kid, is was there any other rule statutes or regulations that pertain to veterans in general in our state? Because, you know, we've had a number of, you know, wars and different things like that anybody has ever passed before with anything that might set either a precedent or something that we could point to, which would allow us to give a waiver or something like that because of a state.
well, right, the issue, like I said, you guys could have a hearing and say, okay, because you were in the service these entire 4 years, we will waive the 2-year requirement to reinstate. And because you were in the service, we will waive the requirement of fees, which is in the statute. The problem is they have to do the CE that's due, the 18 and the 20 CE that's due. That's a federal requirement, and there is no waiver. Jenny checked, there is no waiver for it.
Okay. At least
So
something.
that has to be done. You know, the other alternative is he just reapplies, and Jenny Tidwell was looking to see if the AQB would waive the 5-year, and she hasn't gotten back to me. So she hasn't had an answer from the AQB yet on that. And because those are federal requirements, whatever we decide, we still have to abide by that part. That's
So
why
can
I
we
checked
just,
with her.
we just table this then till next month? And in the meantime, if you find out that he can come in for a hearing, we just put it on the agenda for next month.
Yeah, I
think
can
he's
do
got
that
30
if you
more
guys
days.
are willing, to listen to him and obtain, if that's something he wants to do instead. Because I told him the CE he has to do, he's got to take a use PAP, he's got to take a law, and then he can take pre-licensing courses, and those will count for both. He'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone and he's going to need a new use PAP because it's, it's over 5 years, it's almost 6 years old. So before he upgrades, he will need a new use PAP anyway. So the 15-hour one, so he can do that and the other ones and, get pretty well caught up pretty quickly with the CE.
Okay.
And that's how he chooses to do it.
Okay. So at this point right now, we're just waiting to hear back from the
If
federal.
there's a waiver for the AQB for the 5 years or not.
And then we'll just take it from there. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Are there any other items that must be presented to us today? We did not, and I want to make sure I'm not missing something. We had no courses to review. Okay.
No, they were not on the agenda. I still need to work with Terry Jo as far as getting them on the agenda, and with the holidays this past month, it
Okay.
was a little difficult. And I did look and there wasn't very many anyway, so.
Okay.
Were any of them
I was,
we could have just,
I just honestly, I didn't have time to go through them all and put them on the agenda
Okay.
with the holidays and time off that I had, so.
okay. About the Zoom meetings that we have here, we don't get so much tied up to weather. Linda and I, Linda,
I know.
we have driven through more storms than we care to admit over the
I'm
years,
loving this, not
and
having to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can get up there on time.
there you go. If there's no more or no other items, issues, or concerns before us, we have our next meeting February what?
That would be February 10th, Wednesday, February 10th.
February 10th.
Correct.
Okay, does that
Oh,
present
I'm
any
sorry.
more issue?
Yep, Wednesday, February 10th.
We're all good for February 10th? Okay. All right, that being said, can I have a motion for the adjournment?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Mrs. made a second, Linda, aye. Ayes,
Aye.
ayes, good, nays.
Aye.
Thank you. Good discussion, folks, here today. It'll give me something while I'm driving a lot coming up here to think about. So thank